Radical.
Here lately, I've been talking about the fact that Sony seems to be getting a little loose with their PlayStation exclusives. Whether it be the PC or now the Xbox, they seem to be open on just kind of letting their first-party games go. When, well, you would think that's a bad move for them. Because, people generally, most people bought the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 before it for them Sony exclusives, for them great Sony exclusives. But now, the PlayStation 5 is trailing behind a bit in the PS4. Not only in sales, I think it's about, if I get this correctly, 2-3 million behind in sales, but it's also far behind the PlayStation 4 in great exclusive games at this point in its lifespan. But with those exclusive games, even though they're less common than they were on the PlayStation 4, game development, I guess, is just crazy expensive right now compared to a decade or so ago. Sony is, like I said, open to getting in bed with Microsoft. In fact, there's a statement from 4 or 5 days ago in I think it was investment, somewhere all the business bigwigs get together. Something, I'm not sure exactly what, an investment meeting, I don't know. Sony might say something different to the fans and the fanboys than they do to investors. And the actual senior VP said this. This is the actual statement interpreted. Now, he was responding to a question, so he says, "Thank you for that question. I can't find what the question was right now, so my apologies. That would be helpful, but I can't find the actual question." Maybe some of you know the actual question, but I'm guessing he's responding to something that they're doing on the business end concerning their business overall or the PlayStation specifically. He says, "So the investment in Bandai, and of course we have been shifting to creation. For example, the entertainment businesses basically account for 60% of our consolidated revenue, so basically our business portfolio is shifting more to the creation side of things. And then, for the electronic business and TV, compared to output devices, we are now shifting to creation devices that include digital cameras. So as a result, we are seeing more stability and profitability in the revenue, and also the productivity of our performance is increasing. And against such backdrop, and for example, in the music business, music streaming and EMI music publishing has been acquired, and then we increase the music catalog." But here's where we get down to the PlayStation stuff. "As I mentioned in the speech, in the gaming business, we're moving away." The translation here is terrible, by the way. I wish it were a little better, because this sentence makes no sense. "In gaming business and moving away from..." I'll just give you my version, okay? In fucking English, okay? "In our gaming business, we are moving away from a hardware-centric business to more on the community-based engagement end, and then that has been increasing. So now, as we make more of a transition to entertainment creation, the stability and the productivity, our performance is increasing. So this upward revision might not have been a direct result of these. However, the music publishing, I think it's really all he talks about. And I think this just kind of, why the hell does this repeat? Because that seems like the very beginning of this. So, yeah. I blame this, where is this coming from? Pure Xbox? I blame Pure Xbox, okay? See, this is what we do here, commentators sometimes. We depend on these articles on these websites to get the story. But this one is just trash. I should have went over to PlayStation Lifestyle. Okay, maybe I will go to PlayStation Lifestyle. Fuck it. Tell you what I'm doing. We're going to back this out. PlayStation Lifestyle, okay. Now, PlayStation Lifestyle is different. That's an Xbox website. So the funny thing is, I've actually read a lot of these articles on the Nintendo slanted websites, and the Nintendo people think that they lead with the story of like PlayStation games coming over to the Switch too. And of course, the Xbox websites usually talk about all these PlayStation exclusives coming over to Xbox. They're veered towards, of course, the places they're at. Now, this big title here on the PlayStation Lifestyle is no, Sony's statement doesn't say PlayStation is going full multi-platform. Now, what's interesting about this, and someone called out the person writing this, was the original title of this was, "No, PlayStation isn't going multi-platform." They changed the statement to full multi-platform. So the concession is, yes, PlayStation is going multi-platform, meaning they're putting games on the Xbox. That's just a fact. Helldivers 2 is coming pretty soon. Oh, it's just a live service game. That's a fact. That's coming. I mean, there's rumors. I can't verify the rumors that maybe Spider-Man 2 might be coming to the Xbox. Nothing verified, though. But also, you see that all these things put together, the fact that Helldivers 2 coming to the Xbox, something else, I forget what happened. Damn it. I forget. It was something I talked about a week or so ago. I wish I could remember what it was. It'll come right to me after this commentary. But that instance, and now you have the senior VP talking about how they're moving away from a hardware-centric business. Now, how else can you take that than to mean, oh, yeah, I know what it was. It was the hiring of the person, the need for a person to actually help in the transition of putting their games on other platforms. Yeah, that, and then this happening, and then Helldivers, you put everything together, you start putting the puzzle pieces together, and now you see, even with the VP talking about, they're moving away from just a hardware-focused business. It means that first-party games, PlayStation games, will be coming to Xbox. That's what that means. Now, it doesn't mean day and date. It doesn't mean that the next big PlayStation exclusive will come to an Xbox the same day. But it does mean they will be opening up their catalog, and they will, I guarantee you, they will be bringing PlayStation exclusives over to Xbox. In the same way, Xbox brought over Forza Horizon, Sea of Thieves. This will be an exchange. Will it be a 50% exchange? You know, we give you 4 games, you give us 4 games? I don't think so. I think it's going to be more Xbox games are coming to PlayStation. But even if it's like 20 or 30% of PlayStation games, that's pretty huge, and depends on what games there are. Hey, God of War Ragnarok, maybe a twofer can come over. I'm looking here. Ghost of Tsushima. I know I probably butchered that. Horizon Zero Dawn. Even smaller type Sony games that are exclusive could come over to Xbox. And there's just, for some reason, a lot of diehard PlayStation fanboys that do not see that this is the direction that it's leading. Pretty soon there's probably going to be another thing that drops. Actually, if you see a line succession of things happening, then that means it's probably eventually going to happen. Okay? If you check your girlfriend's phone when she's in the bathroom and you start seeing texts from a lot of different guys, and it seems kind of strange and weird, and guys are talking about meeting up with her somewhere, and then she stays out real late at night, and you're like, damn, she got off work 3 hours ago. Where's she at? Then she has these weird stories that don't all lined up. That means she's cheating on you, man. That's what that means. You don't have to have the 100% proof to know that that's where things are leading. She's not being faithful, brother. She's not being faithful. And a lot of PlayStation owners, a lot of the fans, they feel a little bit betrayed by PlayStation because they got a PlayStation 5 thinking, well, this is going to be the box where we get to play our exclusive games. You know, none of these games are going to be going over to that dirty, dirty Xbox. But, like I said before, Microsoft seems to have played this, love or hate Microsoft, it seems like they're playing this right. They kind of opened it up. They showed PlayStation how well their games are selling, even though someone did point out, I think it was Rumamba, which was a great point. Even though most of the games in the top selling for the PlayStation were Microsoft-owned games, they technically did have an X there. But I don't think anybody thinks Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is an Xbox game. It's not. It's a Microsoft game. They just happen to acquire that where, it's is technically true that Microsoft dominating, I don't know, mostly 6 out of 10. If it was like maybe 7 or 8 out of 10, okay, maybe that's dominating. But it's not like most of the games are Halo 4s and Gears, all right? But it is technically, it's Microsoft, and they are doing very well on the PlayStation storefront. So, also, one last thing I'll mention is, looking at their numbers, Sony looked at their numbers, and they noticed that there was an 8% uptick in third-party sales of their exclusive games on PC versus the year before, I believe. I got that number right. So they're looking at it from a business perspective, and there's a reason that they are bringing their games to PC, because they want extra money. So they see that they're making extra money and not really, the engagement on their platform is not getting lower. Also, one more thing, I just promised one more thing, but two more things. This is the last thing. Xbox noticed that their engagement has not really went down, even though they've opened and started putting a lot of their games on the PlayStation. Right now, their engagement is not really going down. So that's pretty big news. Because you would think if they start opening and putting like Gears and Forza and these type games on the PS5, then hell, everyone would run away from Xbox. Nobody would still want to play on Xbox. But that apparently seems to not be the case. So this is an interesting experiment here. I wonder what would happen if all Xbox games or Microsoft games and all PlayStation games went to each other's platform. Would the numbers show that it really wouldn't matter that much? Would people still be saying, well, I like the PlayStation platform. I like the ecosystem. I like their controller, and get a PlayStation? And would the Xbox people say, hey, I like this platform. My friends are here. I love the controller, so I'll stay here. It'd be interesting if in the next generation of the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox, whatever the fuck it's called, take your guesses on what they're going to call the next Xbox. What if by then all this sleeping in bed together and sharing each other's exclusives, what if that becomes the norm? And every exclusive arrives day and date on the PlayStation 6, let's say PlayStation 5 and Xbox X near the end of the generation. What happens? Do people just say, I like the way that system looks, I'll buy that one. That one's an interesting color, I'll buy that one. And it's indistinguishable, and people wind up actually being happier ultimately, thinking that they would be pissed off because they have more options.